Sam. Occupation unemployed. Age 22. Jump. Sam refuses to give his surname and says he would prefer to be called Kraken, but that would be ridiculous. He says that he's been imagining this jump for weeks. He's performed it 1,000 times in his head, and now he's poised to do it for real. This is not the way it usually goes. Thinking too hard about your moves is generally bad news. What he has in mind is a 2-foot to 2-foot standing jump, known in the trade as a precision. The thing about this jump is not the distance, only just over 3 metres, and Sam knows that he can clear that. He could do it backwards, and throw in a couple of flips as well. Make it really pretty. Nor is it the difficulty of the landing space. The parapet wall is easily wide enough, even if it is made of slippery marble and has a serious camber. The secret, he knows, is to land on his toes on the very edge with his heels in space and just enough forward momentum to leave him balanced there, knees bent and arms outstretched. It's not fear of falling or injuring himself. You wouldn't be in this line of business if you couldn't put such thoughts out of your mind. He's broken his right wrist twice in the past and cracked a couple of ribs, but that was back when he was a skateboarder. What's spooking him about this jump is something more elusive, something harder to define. In part, it's the dark bulk of one of the city's great river bridges looming over his left shoulder. In part, it's the black, scummy river moving beneath his feet. Most of all, it's what he's jumping from. Sam is standing on a kind of long, floating shed tied to the embankment at both ends. During working hours, it's an office and a pier for a water taxi company. And because it's floating, it's not still. These tiny, disorienting movements as the shed rides the ripples are making the jump less routine. The minuscule changes in the distance to be covered as it moves slightly closer to the bank and then slightly further away are sapping his confidence. His whole body's aware of the ground tilting beneath him. Will he be able to trust it at the moment of takeoff? So given all this, why do it? Why not give it a miss and go on to another jump? After all, no one else would care. This isn't a competitive sport. Probably no one else would even notice. But you can't give up. You can't give things time to frighten you. You have to go for it because that's what you do. That's who you are. Get it done. Move on to the next one. Jump, climb, run, and don't look too far back or too far forward. Sam is a free runner. Free runners are the relative extroverts among urban gymnasts. Whereas the exponents of parkour regard what they do simply as the most efficient way of getting from one part of the city to another, free runners have a greater sense of adventure. They're in it for the crack, the excitement. To parkour's vocabulary of vaulting, rolling, swinging and scaling, free runners have added aerial rotations and spins, just for the hell of it, just to make things more difficult, for the joy of putting style ahead of substance, embellishment ahead of the thing to be embellished. Traceurs are purists. For them, all forms of movement are beautiful. Free runners are artists. They accept that there's more going on than simply moving from one point in an urban environment to another. There's more ego involved. They have their signature moves. They do it their way. They're showmen, ready to demonstrate their mastery of bricks and mortar, iron and steel, not ghosts sneaking unseen through silent streets. For Sam, his ability to overcome the obstacles that the city has put in his path is a way of emphasising his mastery over it. Free running is his way of staking a claim to the city in which he feels so marginalised, so unwanted, so alienated. All the more so because he doesn't leave a trace behind him. Besides, the choice of location is crucial. So many parts of the city, its roofs and basements, its offices, car parks, shopping malls, churches and museums, places that offer marvellous opportunities for jumping and climbing, are inaccessible, guarded by men in uniforms, locked tight when the men in suits and the women in heels go home. So when Sam saw this floating office for the first time, he was intoxicated by its possibilities. He's been dreaming about it. He's not about to abandon it now. He knows exactly how he will feel once he's accomplished the perfect landing, how peaceful and still. After all, he's made jumps tougher than this all over the city. He's loosened up by doing a couple of backflips onto the pavement from the railing that separates it from the busy road. The endorphins have started to kick in. He relaxes for a moment, watching his best friend Derry, who's doing a handstand on the railing. He is completely still, utterly tranquil, just inches away from the roaring traffic. The muscles in his arms are taut and unmoving. A few cars blast their horns as they pass, but Derry doesn't blink. Sam can see from the look in Derry's eyes that there's no one at home, that he's not really here at all. He's somewhere else. Somewhere still and calm and unpeopled. For a moment, Sam feeds off this. And now he's ready. He empties his mind and focuses on the spot he's selected to land. His heartbeat slows. He holds his arms stiffly out behind him. He shrugs his shoulders to release any residual tension. He rocks backwards and forwards on the balls of his feet. He flexes his calf muscles. And then, quite suddenly, he jumps.